Testing. Okay. Whew. We're just gonna do audio today because I don't feel like making the camera work. I drew a Hell Knight today. I may kind of be in a Doom phase, and if I am, that's okay. I drew Doom Guy, and I plan on doing another Doom drawing in the video after this. Unfortunately, at the beginning of the drawing, I didn't press record on the camera. I wasn't recording this whole time. That's a bummer. I missed like the first 5 or 10 minutes. Oh well. When I did start recording, you can kind of see what I did still. So usually when I start these drawings, I always try to look at the most general idea or the most general impression, most basic of basic impressions. I always try to spot the darkest and biggest shapes, the things that define the subject the most. As soon as I wouldn't say refine those shapes, but as soon as I get those shapes in a position that I'm satisfied with, then I move in and go from really big to smaller and smaller and smaller. So with this, I started with underneath the pectorals. Is that what they're called? I did the rib cage, and then I did underneath both arms. I did the neck, and then between the legs. If I can see those shapes at the most unfocused stage of the picture, then I just put it on there, and hopefully I get the placement right. I mean, you can see on the Doom Guy drawing, the side of his helmet, there's a stark line between the left side of his helmet and the right side of his helmet. The transition from that to the darker side, you can see a very general shape. That's an example of something that you could see as one shade, at least to begin with, and then you can move in smaller and get the details more. I was also thinking of this one as a pie crust, as I did with the Doom Guy. You can't touch it too much or knead it too much, or else it becomes too doughy. And you make every action that you do in making that pie crust intentional. And so it's the same here. I didn't want to touch it too much and overwork the paper. What I used to do was I'd get the toilet paper and just put a whole load of charcoal onto the paper, and then I would use the blending stump to take away things and then put charcoal on. But the problem with that is that it was really hard then at the end or whenever I wanted to add highlights to get all the charcoal off because I was rubbing it into the paper. With practice and with the mindset change, it's a lot easier for me to get really bright highlights and then have the darker parts not be so overworked. So when you try to put charcoal onto the paper, it takes itself off of the paper. I got a little bit excited with the compressed charcoal towards the end. When I started adding it, I started with the mouth, and I was only going to use it for like the head and the upper body. And I did notice after I finished the drawing, and then I went back and looked at the time lapse, there were a few parts that I could have just left as is instead of putting compressed charcoal everywhere. But now that I think about it, I actually kind of like all of the darkness. It's super, I don't know, rather than being super subtle, I like the aggression that comes with the darkness of the compressed charcoal, especially considering the subject matter. I really like the darkness. There's so much darkness in the reference, and I just really liked it. And the fun part about it was that I could be really rough with it because of the aggression of the subject. If I was drawing a rose or a flower or something, I probably wouldn't be as scribbly, but I thought it was fun to be free with that considering that I was drawing a Hell Knight. The reason I chose it was because, I mean, I guess you could say it's my favorite demon from Doom. Back when Doom 2016 came out and I first saw the Hell Knight, the thing that struck me was the lack of eyes. Also the fact that it came barreling forward because it jumps really high. All it does is jump and pound, and it uses its fists. It doesn't have any weapons, unless you consider the Dread Knight from Doom Eternal, but the core Hell Knight is just really visceral. It fits the look of charcoal a lot. Doom 2016, it left an impression, a little bit of an impression on me. And so when I was thinking I want to draw a demon from Doom after I drew Doom Guy, obviously this was the first thing that popped into my head. From Doom the Dark Ages, the thing that struck me was the Cosmic Baron, because like the Hell Knight, it just is so fast and it's so aggressive. It made an entrance, that's for sure. But the difficulty came in when I realized that it was more organic, I guess, than Doom Guy, because Doom Guy is wearing armor and it's very geometric. But with the Hell Knight, even though there are a lot of sharp edges, it's not very intuitive. Another hard part was trying to figure out what to fade and what to bring out. For example, the right leg versus the left leg. By all accounts, they're almost the same value. If I wanted to make one look like it was more forward than the other, then I had to fade the back one out and bring out the left leg. And the feet and hands, that was a different story. I wasn't gonna bring those out in any way. But the transition from focus to blurriness, where that came in, I guess the difficult part was figuring out where I was going to fade out the back and then where I was going to fade the chest out, and I think I just decided to do below where the rib cage starts and then downward. But the hardest part was that I was just tired. My eyes were really tired. It was difficult for me to see, but that's not because I have bad vision. Maybe I do. But I was also, when I would squint at the reference, I would see double. I think because I was just tired. I do have glasses, but, you know, that's... I do have bad eyesight, but that's besides the point. Another thing that I thought was interesting was the eyes. I did not include the eyes because I wanted to see what would happen if I combined the design from Doom the Dark Ages and Doom 2016, because I did like the Doom 2016 look with the no eyes, and I was gonna draw that. But then I looked at Doom Eternal and then Doom the Dark Ages, and I decided that I liked the design in Doom the Dark Ages a lot more. But I did want to see what it would look like with no eyes because I thought it was scarier. So I did that because I liked the idea of a blind rage and it being out of control. However, I did show my brother. He brought up a really good point. He said that sometimes the eyes can be more sinister because it can be a measure of intelligence. I thought that was a really good point. The no eyes is more horrific and just unsettling, but with the eyes, if you can manage to make it look more calculated and controlled, I think controlled rage or controlled wrath is a lot scarier than uncontrolled blind rage. I still like no eyes, but I do like the point that the eyes can be scarier. I think the best thing about it was that my time is consistently 2 hours instead of 4. And if my time can improve this consistently and stay this consistent, at least with a big drawing, if I can keep it like 2 hours or under, I can do a lot more. I won't burn out as easily. Maybe I can do timed drawings. That would be fun. So, next up, I'm gonna draw a Cosmic Baron, just because that had a similar impression on me as the Hell Knight in Doom 2016 did. Eventually, this Doom phase will end. I will draw other things. I'm not just gonna draw Doom stuff. But right now, I really like the visceral nature of the demons in Doom and how it is complemented by the charcoal. Anyway,